All right, you guys, welcome back. So my guest today is round two. Our first round, we were just talking about off air. Our video got cut off. So with me from the New York market, I've got Peter Diaz. Peter, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Good. Thanks for having me back. Love catching up with you.
Absolutely. So what part of New York are you in? Where do you sell most of your real estate?
So I'm originally from Brooklyn in New York City. Last year, pre-COVID, I was Brooklyn, New York City area, half the suburbs, which is kind of like where you live, or Grosse Pointe. I always tell people from Michigan, like, I work in Detroit and I live in Grosse Pointe, kind of thing. Like that's sort of the analogy. So it's a burb. So I service the surrounding area of New York City. I live about 18 miles from Manhattan. But with COVID, I had to make a huge shift last year in the middle of all this because Manhattan was completely shut down with everything. So I made a shift to focus where I live. I said, hey, why not focus where I live, right? Manhattan feeds this market. I know both markets really well. So, learning from you and how to, always pivot. So I spent about, 6 weeks sort of sulking and like, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is terrible. So started thinking like, okay, what can I do differently? And focus on things that will help me grow. And that's what I did. And it ended up being like one of my best years.
Yeah.
So right now I'm in the burbs and I have a team that I work with in Manhattan, but I focus now where I live because I have young kids. It's great to be able to hop my truck and go see the girls, play a softball game, come back to the office, go see a client, and it's all within 15 minutes of where I am.
I love it. And so I want to walk people through, Peter, what all of that. I want to unpack that entire story that you just outlined. So how did you finish in production in 2020?
I think I generated I did 20 million.
Got it.
I had about 18. I carried over two.
Yeah. So you did
the beginning of this year.
So in one of the hardest hit states, really, due to the pandemic, you still were able to figure it out, do 20 million. We're going to talk about that a little bit and how you're generating your business. And this year in 2021, what is the goal and where are you currently at?
So my goal is 30 million this year, just because I shifted a lot. And I'm switching brokerages. So 30 million is the goal. I'm at as of this Friday coming up, I'll be at 15.
Good for you. So halfway through the year, you're exactly on pace to hit 30 million. And
yeah,
in your market, Peter, how much does that represent in income for you if you do 30 million this year?
550.
Nice. Got it. Good for you, man. That's great. So the 550,000 in income off 30 million, is that because you've got splits with a team or a company, or?
Yeah, splits and I obviously we can't speak about commission and whatnot, but in Manhattan we're able to I'm able to get a higher commission in the city. Long Island's a little more competitive. They don't know how to build value sometimes, and give away points instead of building value. But I will say I have a friend of mine who says that's all bullshit because he does get higher. He's like, nah, dude, it's all, you got to talk differently to the people and build some value, which is something that we learned from you. And he's great. So he kind of put me in check with that, actually. But yeah, that's why. And I have a lot of referrals, Brandon. I connect with a lot of people. Think it's weird that I'm friends with so many agents, but I'm friends with agents all over the country. And therefore I on social media. So I get a lot of referrals. So yeah, a big piece of that is I'm giving them a cut, and I have a team. A pseudo team, I give them a piece. I have a partner work with me sometimes. They get a piece. So yeah, but I'll take the 550 all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Because before you got into real estate, you were in the car business, correct?
Right. I was at BMW for 6 years and I had a corporate job with a big telecom for 13 years prior to that.
And so in those industries, what was the most you had ever earned at BMW or your prior career?
BMW, probably like 130, maybe 140.
So going up to 550,000, I mean, for a lot of people, that creates new issues, right? That creates ego and some spending problems. And so for you, my first question is, how are you managing this new lifestyle that you're able to give your family due to the huge income increase?
Sure. So, and just to back up for a second, I was always doing real estate sort of part-time. I was one of those dabblers, but I was making like almost the same amount of money part-time that I was selling cars all day. And I was like, wait a second. I met my mentor in Manhattan. He's like, look, dude, you gotta go all in on this if you want to make the big bucks. So going back to your question about money. So my wife and I came up with a plan. We had some debt that I accrued. When I left the car business, jumped all in from, I started October of 17 as a full-time realtor in Keller in Manhattan. Dude, I made $500 from September of 17 to like probably May of 18. Okay. And I was like, okay, something's got to give here. And I was able to fight my way through it, man, and just hustle and grind. And I made it. And once you get past that, like year and a half, 2 years, can you see me all right? And
Gotcha.
things started changing. And now I realize we're abundant. I'm abundant. The scarcity mind is something that's learned over time from our parents, from the news. And so I became more abundant mindset. And we have no debt. I have no debt. My truck is paid off. It's an older truck, but it's paid off. My wife drives a Honda. So instead of getting like, oh, we make more money, let's spend more money, we did the opposite. We paid off all of our debts. We spend more time with the kids on vacations. And now I'm looking at investing, buying some multifamily properties in upstate New York, because I want to have an exit strategy, out of this business, which most agents, right, don't.
That's right.
Don't. I didn't either,
I love it. I love it. Good for you, man. Congratulations. I think that's something you should be very, very proud of, because I think you nailed it. I mean, the first year in this industry, I don't think people realize what's about to occur, because as you know, Peter, people get into the business, and we have new students and new coaching clients from all over the country that are new to the business, and they get in not prepared for what is going to occur their first 6 to 12 months. Let's talk about, some expectations that people should have, because here's what happens. They're all excited, Peter, right? Oh, I'm going to get into real estate. I got my license. I'm going to make a whole bunch of money. They come from a world where they're making maybe not the money that they want, but it's consistent, right? They're coming off of a salary, some type of job. Can you walk us through maybe what you thought about your first year in the business, and maybe some expectations for people thinking about getting into the business?
Sure. So this is my second stint as a full-time real estate agent. My first was after my corporate career. I came into this business as just blind, just totally blind, that I would come to this job like, oh, I'm a nice guy. I was good at a corporate job. I should be good at this. And I sat at a desk waiting for things to happen, hoping for things to happen. And as we know, hope isn't a strategy. And the expectation should be this. If you're the best agent and you came in today to the industry and your uncle gave you his listing, you're not getting a check for 4 to 6 months, period.
Yep.
Right. That's if you brought the listing today and you sold it today, you wouldn't get paid for, let's say, 90 days minimum,
Yep.
right? That's if you were the best. So you have to expect, for me, it was, 8 months to a year before I started making, my first year, I made like 50 grand, my first full year, which was a big pay cut for me. But then you start, so you have to save money or live at home with your parents, or both, right? And you got to really get into something like what you're doing, which is way beyond FSBO now, right? We're still about lead generation, following up. And to me, the most important thing that I learned from you is the mindset, believing that you're able to do this, and that if Brandon can do it, why can't I? I'm not better than him, but I'm as good as he is.
Yeah.
But the first year, you got to really have some money saved.
That's what I say too.
Tough.
Yeah. And that's great advice. I mean, that's what I believe somebody getting into this business has to have the same mindset. You talk about mindset, has to have the same mindset as opening any other business. And that's the first problem. People that are getting into real estate, most of them, and for you, those of you watching, I think you'll agree, don't get mad at me, they're not salespeople, Peter, and they're not business people. That's the problem. So they're getting into a sales business with no sales business experience. That's a problem. So like,
you're screwed.
Right? You're screwed. So I think you have some good advice. I always tell people you need to have at least 6 months worth of reserves, not just to pay your bills, but also to pay yourself an income so that you can get out of your head and not worry about money and the fact that you're not making money in the beginning. At least 6 months. And so that's great advice. The second question I have for you is let's talk about your business and where you're generating the business from. What is the lead generation strategy? Because you're right. I think a lot of agents, this is where they struggle the most. They don't understand they're getting into a lead generation business. But let's talk about your business model and where the business is coming from.
Sure. So you and I spoke a few months back, and I said to you, almost in frustration, Brandon, like 80% of my deals are coming from my network because I was so focused on, FISBOs, which we couldn't do last year. I couldn't do anyway here in New York, especially couldn't call them, couldn't see them. And you're like, no, dude, that's great. Like that's how you run a business. Like people are seeing you. And so my lead generation is mostly through social media organically. I post not frequently enough, but I post mostly about my family, but about real estate, whether it's new listings, but it's more about advice, how I weave my personal life into my business life. So most of my leads come from my sphere. The way we started, though, you and I, was that big one I got after doubting you for a while and breaking your chops. And you talked some sense into me, and Ron Vaughn, of course, my favorite. And I got that $2 million FISBO. And so I said, okay, I can do this, right? And I think people who join your program or just pay attention to you, it's the be, do, have. It's the man in the mirror thing. That's been the biggest thing for me the last year, dude. I'm like, what does $1 million producer look like? What do they sound like? What do they drive? Where do they go? Where do they hang out? And you start thinking, you're like, okay, why not me? So you got to believe it before you have it. So that confidence comes through. I do video on Instagram, and I do driving the market. I drive around in my truck like this, and I just talk about what's going on, about an experience I had. And so most of my leads come from that, but I still get a lot from Zillow, which I have a partner that pays, a mortgage partner that pays for a significant portion of that. But I don't want it to be the end all be all, because I want to just focus on my database, which we call our data bank.
Yeah, exactly right. So that's a couple key points. I think people, and it's probably my fault. I mean, most of my content out there has to do with prospecting to strangers, but I think people are starting to see more. The number one lead source in an agent's business should be and always will be their data bank, their database, their sphere of influence, past client database. Always has been, it is now, and will always be that way. The problem, Peter, is people don't know how to communicate with that segment of the marketplace. So they say, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to provide value to that group. So let me go to strangers. But the key thing here, and what I teach as far as how to build or how to get business from your sphere of influence and referral partners, is through content. Plain and simple. You have got to position yourself as an expert, and you have to look at yourself as a media outlet, right? And so in order to communicate with all these people at scale, well, we have to do Instagram video. We have to do driving the market where you've got a show and you're driving around in your car talking about the marketplace. You have to go meet people. You've got to network with them. You've got to do events. You've got to do all these different things to stay top of mind, which is the conversion mechanism to take someone from your sphere and get them to buy or sell a house with you, is to win top of mind. So let's talk about some of the other ways that maybe you're communicating with your folks. I know you talked about social media. Are you doing any, well, now that New York's hopefully opening them back up, are you getting into any events? Are you doing any weekly video emails? Are you doing anything in addition to social media?
I do a lot of email updates, and I do once in a while do a bomb video. Now, again, imagine if I was more consistent. I'm definitely ready to hit $1 million, hopefully in 2022. If I up my consistency like you are and follow a lot of things that you do. But email marketing, I just interact with them on social media. So the algorithm, right, of Facebook, and I see they post something about their kid. Oh, congratulations. It's genuine. I really mean that. What happens is then Facebook puts my stuff in front of them, and they're like, oh, Pete, you're crushing it, or whatever, you're doing a great job. But whenever I post, I don't just post just sold. I always create a story like, oh, I helped this guy. He was retiring, moving down to the Carolina. I really helped him, made me feel good to help him. And that, being authentic in that post makes it not just another just listen, just sold post.
Beautiful.
And now I do coffee meetings. So like right now I'm in my new office in Garden City, Long Island, and I'll meet with somebody at this coffee shop. Mortgage guy, attorney, old friend. Hey man, you want to grab coffee? Hey man, you want to grab a beer? And now that I'll get more comfortable with that, with COVID sort of New York stuff opening up after COVID, I'll start working on some more events, probably maybe a beer tasting, some more networking things. But yeah, just coffee,
I love
coffee and
it.
social media.
Yeah. So that's the thing, Pete. I know you've been kind of you've been with us for a while. You're succeeding at a high level, but as we go deeper, as we get ready to launch our Listing Agent Academy program, there's something I teach called the Coffee Crusade, and it's exactly what you're talking about. It's strategically meeting with people in your database, referral partners, sphere of influence, past clients, business owners, influencers in the community, people from the softball team, right? From the kids soccer team. And you're just grabbing a cup of coffee 5 days a week. Now, you've been hearing me preach 5 preview appointments a week, but probably what most people haven't heard me talk a lot about is 5 coffees per week. It's the simplest thing. It's going to cost you $3 or $4, and it doesn't have to be an hour and a half lunch meeting that's super expensive. It's a cup of coffee. And so the Coffee Crusade is 20 break breads or 20 coffees a month with 20 different people from the database. And you nailed it. It's probably the number one way to generate business from the database. And Peter, if people did this, I believe they can build, not only can they build a massive business, but they can put them in a position where potentially, not always, but potentially, they wouldn't even have to go outside of the database to talk to strangers at all. But the problem, just like anything else in our business, is the excuses and, I don't feel comfortable and all these different things. But that's phenomenal that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's been great. And one thing I've done over the last year is, again, and I'm not trying to like blow smoke up your ass or anything, but I'm just being, it's genuine. I generally appreciate you and Ron getting me involved so now I work out 6 days a week. I dropped 30 pounds since we last spoke. I hired a trainer, so I do that. I do meditation. I do the cold shower thing. So I follow a lot of things that have nothing to do, in theory, about FSBO expireds and cold calling. Because if you can't get your head right, none of that's going to matter. You're just going to be pushing matter, and you're going to be stressed out all the time. Me, I don't chase. I try to attract. And it's just through sort of like that, the man in the mirror thing over again, right? And being the best version of yourself. And I got to tell you, my wife makes fun of me sometimes. She's like, are you so hokey and you're always happy all the time? I'm like, well, you want me to be a miserable prick, or you want to be happy? Like,
yeah.
And that whole regimen that you have given us, moving every day, I can't even believe it. It's like I'm a whole new person this year. It lasts 14 months.
So oh my gosh. So I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head, and it's why I spend so much time talking about stuff that you could argue doesn't have anything to do with success in real estate, but it's the exact thing that causes people to succeed in life.
100%.
And so I think there's a direct correlation. I mean, I think that it's amazing how many people are neglecting their health, their mindset, their fitness, their nutrition. These are the driving factors of success. I mean, the healthier you are, the better you feel, the better mindset you'll have, the stronger mindset you'll have, the approach you take to everything is increased. To your point, your enthusiasm is a lot higher, which is a very attractive quality. And so
people feel it.
People feel it, and then they want to work with you. And so I don't see how. I think they're a direct correlation. I think if you're going to win in business, talking about B2 have, what are the type of people that are winning? You're going to find most people are in shape. They care about their health. They care about their nutrition. They take care of their mindset. They read books, right? They work on self-development. They have a mentor. They have a coach. I mean, all we have to do, it's very simple, is find people that are already winning and find out what they're doing. And there's no secrets here. So I love the fact that you're in shape, that you're working out, you're sweating, you're taking cold showers, you're working on your mindset. And now listen, you're going to do a $30 million production business in 2021 which is phenomenal, So what advice would you give to other agents, that are really just struggling in this business? Because here's a fact that might blow you away. As we sit making this interview in July 6th, over 50% of all licensees still have not sold one house this year yet. So what advice would you give to people that are out there that say they want to win, but what do they need to do?
So I think they need to face the man or the woman in the mirror and get in touch with that and follow other agents that are doing it and figure out what they're doing and get in that mindset. Like, why not me? So mindset is one thing. The working out, again, it's not easy, but I would start doing that. Save the money, right? Have the 6-month reserve minimum. I would say you want to have a year. Don't quit your full-time job just yet if you can't, right? Do the part-time like I did. Do the hustle and grind. At some point, I don't hustle and grind anymore, dude.
Yeah.
I leverage my time. I go to the beach. I work from the beach 2 days a week, and I communicate with people, and get involved with someone like you, or you or someone else who has a good program to get the low hanging fruit to get at least started. I'm following. Oh my God, what's his name from Mailbox, etc. Steve Angeline.
Yeah.
So like, get in front of more FISBO. Go to the open houses, man. Now we can go. So go to Zillow, look at what's an open house for a FISBO, and go meet them. Go talk to them, and then follow up. Work on your follow up. That's what you taught me. That's been the biggest, besides the other mental stuff. It's the following up, which I was really bad at. I was like, nope, okay, bye, and then they were done. Meanwhile, I'm going to interview tomorrow for a listing that I've been following up with them for a year.
Yeah. And the thing is, follow-up is critical no matter what the lead source. It's actually more critical with working with your database sphere of influence referrals than it is with strangers. Because when you get introduced to somebody, you've got to make that person look good. Like they didn't make a mistake. And so that first impression and how you follow up is all part of the interview process to determine whether that person you were referred to is going to hire you or not, right? So lead follow-up is the name of the game. I believe it's responsible for 80 to 90% of our income in this industry. And so what does things look like moving forward for you? I know we were just talking off air. You just switched companies to Compass, I believe, correct?
Right. Yep.
That's super exciting. So what do things look like for you moving forward?
So, it's funny going back to my start 3.5 years ago, where I made $500 to a company recruiting me heavily to come work for them. Right. I'm flattered, obviously. But now I'll focus on working at Compass, and look, I'm the brand. So at the end of the day, whether it's Keller or Compass or EXP, it doesn't matter.
No.
Right. I haven't changed who I am. I just work for a different company that has a better network for me where I live. Yeah. So it just made sense for me for many reasons, but it's still you're the brand. And I want to make sure that I stay that way, and I'll just keep being me, and I'll use whatever tools they have to help me. But it's just another company. Just happens to be one that is highly respected where I live. So it's kind of co-branding where I have my brand, and with them, I should do really well from a market share standpoint, which is key because I live here. Why not get market share here? Where I live, the average price is $1 million for a house. So, why not focus here and get involved with the community more?
I love it. Good for you, man. That's exciting. So 30 million in 2021. I know that you're going to hit it. I mean, and your brand just continues to build. You keep building a name for yourself. You keep putting out content. You keep communicating with this pillar of business. Things are just going to keep growing. So, dude, I want to thank you for jumping on here and doing this again with me. And maybe we'll do this again at the end of the year, see if you hit that $30 million number. But any last words that you want to leave the audience?
Just follow. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Just follow people who have done it. Just follow you and stay positive and keep your mindset right. And the rest will happen. The being part is the biggest part of this whole entire thing. Believe you can do it. Why not you? If I can do it, you can definitely do it. I'm just a knucklehead from New York. So just be authentic. I'm going to help someone today, actually, who reached out to me from your program, and catch up with him and give him my advice. But, get in front, talk to as many people as you can. It's just about conversation. Just rub a lot of elbows, have a lot of coffee, beer if you want that. Either way, if you do that, I promise you'll you'll succeed.
It will be impossible not to. It's great.
No, you can't avoid it.
We are in a contact sport. We're in a contact business. We gotta wake up every day. We gotta go talk to people, and then great things will happen. So, Peter, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the summer. Looks like there's a beautiful day out there, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you coming on.
All right, man. Thanks for your patience. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, brother.
All right, bye.
Bye.